Welcome, Everett, Roger and Blockhead, as you prefer to be called. Amazingly, it's already a year since you packed out the festival hall. Tell us how that marvellous gig came together.
Well, it came from Dave Wakeling, who gave me a phone call and told me that Mojo magazine wanted us to do this gig at the festival hall as the Beat. And at that time, me and Everett were already doing a band called Twist and Crawl, which is a beat song, and we were doing beat songs anyway. So we were kind of warmed up.
We were just ready for him when he come over, like
you could say. And so we went ahead and did it, and absolutely phenomenal. You know, faces who hadn't seen us for 20 years coming back and saying it was exactly the same as the olden days. I mean, a lot of them didn't know that as Twist and Crawl we'd been rehearsing this for 6-8 months.
Right.
And Dave went back to America and we've continued being the Beat.
So it was 20 years, wasn't it? It was that 1983 and the David Bowie
That's right.
support. That
Yes.
was the last time the Beat officially played together.
That's right. Well, in England anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it was, wasn't it?
It was the very last
very
gig.
last.
Yeah.
Right. And how did
And
you...
I remember David Bowie coming into the dressing room and going, "You guys are so good, man.
And then we
Just keep it up."
the news came in the next
Do you
day.
remember that Saxa thought that David Bowie was the waiter because he got a white coat on, so he asked David Bowie to get him a drink.
Get in the beers.
And he did.
Where's my red stripe?
So how did you get the musicians together for the new Beat, the 2003 Beat?
Well, the only person who was really missing was Mr. Blockhead here, and so we invited him to be part of the festival hall. And you had three warm-up shows or
Three
something?
gigs before the festival hall.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and he hadn't done it in years neither, so
Yeah.
that was a bit of a challenge for him. But the rest of the band were already intact,
From Twist and Crawl.
from Twist and Crawl, yes.
Could you just take us through the musicians that you brought in?
Well, we brought in like a guitarist by the name of Neil Deffridge, and Saxa found him,
Right.
and me and Saxa, and then Roger came in.
Neil Deffridge used to be the drummer for the Burning, band called The Burning. So 3 drummers in the band.
Now, did Saxa take a lot of persuading to do this reunion?
No, he didn't.
No.
He didn't.
He was
Once
very
the
sure.
money
Bit
was
of
right, once the money was right, he just say yes.
Right.
If he knew he was getting paid for this, a good amount of money, he would have been here. I think nothing would have stopped him, but he just because of his illness,
Right.
Yeah, he's reckoned his mouth swollen and he just can't. His body's swollen.
Right.
Yeah, it's
And ever since that you got that band together, which is now a year, you've been out and about.
We've been all over England,
Saxa included.
Saxa
He's
included,
done most of
when
the
he
gigs.
can. Yeah. He's missed a few when he hasn't been well. And unfortunately, recently his wife passed away, so he's been taking time out, obviously. But we've done Scotland and Ireland as well, and I mean they've been the best crowds yet.
We've done over 100 shows, then.
Oh yeah, I mean when we hit America, it's just going to be absolutely. I mean my heart's jumping when I think of it.
I'm
Chaos on that.
a bit frightened going there. Yeah.
Is that right, Everett? What?
Yeah, it's just. I mean, it's just what they expect. It's just what they expect.
Yeah, but you give them what you know best, and they seem to be happy. I mean, it's been the same thing in England when people first saw us, because Dave wasn't there, and I'm doing all the lead vocals, and we've got my son Rankin Jr. doing all my parts. People were standing there thinking, "Is this like a cover band of the Beats?" But by the third number, they're all going mad, and by the end, they won't let us leave the stage. And people are saying it's just as good as 20 years ago. People who saw it originally, and plus all the new people who've never seen it before.
All the grandkids with them, kids.
The young kids love it.
Yeah.
It's nice to see how people are different when you meet them before the gig and then you see them after the gig. They're out there somewhere after the gig.
Yeah.
People say some lovely things.
Dave Wakeling was at the festival hall gig, and he runs General Public and the English Beat out in the States.
I think he does more general public in America.
Right.
and you know, I know General Public was half mine, but I'm quite happy with him doing that. General Public were very successful in America.
Was there ever a question of ear bending for Dave Wakeling to take part in this last year's worth of gigs?
Well, only if we played America according to his gospel. Yeah.
Yeah. Because for him to leave and come over
for him
here.
to leave to come over.
Yeah.
And I think on that level we'd have to be doing, you know, big arenas for him to come over. Whereas what we've been doing is just doing our gigs for our fun,
building it up,
and letting people know that we're back. I mean, we've done a couple of Bottlings. Bottlings is a great place to play. I mean, years ago we used to think Bottlings, that's dodgy, but you know, and so we've done a few of them, and the turnouts have been phenomenal. And we've done a few underground places as well, just keeping it low profile. Mm-hmm. All the old faces have come back, and it's great to see. You know, I mean, if this band will be as big as it was in its original day is yet to be tested by the new tunes that we're giving to people, which they seem to go just as mad to as the old ones.
Right. And that's tunes that you've been putting together this year?
This year and last year, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you were saying beforehand that Saxa just plays a few riffs on saxophone, and then you base them around some of those, and that's happening like that.
That's right. Like in the studio, you know, we'll just have Saxa in, and we'll just tell him to blow, and he'll blow. Because every time he blows over the track, he plays something different, and then he'll go away, and we'll compile his saxophone. Right. But I mean, in the original Beat days, that's the way. Yeah. Bob Sargent, the producer, used to do it. He'd record 4 or 5 tracks of him, and they'd all be different, and like a jigsaw, tie them all together and come up with some absolutely.
It's amazing they can play them when they do them live.
And Saxa learns them. Obviously, he hears the final product, and by the time we go out and play it live, you know, he's there and he's with it. You know.
You do that mesmerising "Stranger on the Shore." When did he choose that?
I think it's always been his favourite.
Yeah.
And it's just become a thing that after we finish, he just goes back and do it. Like, you know, you get the crowd clapping with him.
Oh, they love it.
He's got one or two others in his repertoire of favourites. He like Stardust, he loves that song, right. So he'd always playing that. But Stranger on the Shore, he's always loved that song.
Right,
so.
right.
And when you hear him play it, I mean, the first time here, we're standing, are we going to go back on? You think, come on, Saxa, what are you up to? When you actually take time and hear a tape of that, sometimes it's sublime the way he plays that number, because he loves it so much. I'm sure.
Everett, you had a gig recently, your 50th birthday.
Oh yes.
Tell us about that.
And that was, yes, I mean, these two was there, you know, and it was good. You know, I don't like surprises, but, you know, just was nice to see all the people there. You know, I mean, David Steele came back from America just to come to my party, and that was emotionally, that was good, you know. Yeah.
Right. Let's go back in time now, if we can, to the mid-70s, 78. How did you, first of all, when the two Daves and Andy came up from the Isle of Wight and they started writing songs, how did you first bump into them?
I first bumped into them by David Steele asking for a drummer, and a friend of mine introduced me to the band. Went for a few rehearsals, and from there.
He used to work in the kettle factory.
Yeah, we just carried on, you know.
And at the kettle factory, I read somewhere that when it was a case of giving up the day job, you had to think twice.
Yeah, had to think twice because...
He still says that.
No, I had to think twice because redundancy was coming up at the time, and it's just do a walk away, leave that. It might collapse, you know,
don't give up your day job.
No, that's why I always said to these guys now, don't give up your day job.
Right.
Yeah, from that time, yeah.
And what kind of songs were you playing in those rehearsals in the Yorkshire Grey in the 79?
I mean, those type of songs, it was punk.
Right.
It was punk. I used to be a reggae drummer, but when I got with these guys, it was punk. It was so fast, so I had to go up another level.
Right.
And I was there just to keep the beat, and so they was playing the punk over this steady reggae beat.
Right. And so they actually wanted to be a punk band then?
Yeah, they wanted to be a punk band, but I steered them from that. Yeah, you know, I said, well, let's put the punk and the reggae. Let's put the punk and the reggae together. You play the punk, I'll play the reggae, and then that's what that's what happened.
And Roger, when did you first see the band as a four-piece?
Well, talking.
Well, Roger saw the band. We supported a band Roger was working with called the Dum Dum Boys. He was a drummer.
Yeah. Actually opened up for me.
And after he saw me playing, he gave up his drums.
I did. They blew us off stage, actually.
Yeah, he gave up his drums.
Absolutely blew us off stage.
Right.
And the first time, do you want to know about the first time I ever met this guy here, this drummer? You don't do that anymore.
What's that?
But the first time I ever met him, he put pock marks in my bass drum and on my toms because he was hitting the drums that hard.
Oh, did they?
Oh man, that bass drum was going. That was brilliant. And then, we did a gig, we came off stage, everyone cheered, and the beat went on stage, and the place just went absolutely mad. And I thought, hey up, I think I got it. Because at that same time, I used to go around DJing or toasting or MCing, whatever they call it now, babbling. Yeah. For a lot of different bands, whether they be punk or reggae. I used to jump on stage. Because Johnny Rotten said once, that's how the Sex Pistols got their first gigs. So it's the gate crash gigs and just go, we're the support band. And next thing you knew, they were on stage and they managed to do half a set before someone noticed something was wrong. So, obviously I used to go on stage, and after doing that 2 or 3 times, started getting cheers. So it was hard for the bands to throw me off.
They used to follow us around.
So I started doing that with the beat.
Really?
And I was still a drummer at the same time, and eventually I just thought, well, obviously I'm great at getting the crowd going, and the crowd love it.
But you were known around Birmingham as the orange-haired punk, who was
That's
the toaster, who played Kraftwerk and the Clash.
Absolutely.
What kind of sort of rapping did you do over that kind of music?
The same yard kind of rapping, because to me it's the way I've looked at music, I've never really had barriers, and because of that, the Beat was the perfect kind of band for me, because the Beat were a type of band that merged a lot of musics together, a lot of different styles. So obviously, the kind of rap I would do to that, I'd have to play the backing track for you for me to do something, know.
Right.
But it's possible, and I used to, and punks used to go mad. They used to love it.
And Blockhead, when did you first come across the Beat?
Somebody threw a tape into my car one day of the very first demo that they did and said, would I be willing to earn £10, I think it was, to drive them down to London and back. So I did that, and we met. Right. And then I ended up as their tour manager, and then
we liked you so much.
They liked me that much. They said, come and be our tour manager, which was a bit of a challenge. I did a few gigs as their lighting man. And then whilst they were recording the first album, they had some gigs in the middle of that to do, 3 in Scotland, 3 in England. And they said, we'd like you to come and play keyboards, which was a bit surprising really, because
was to help out Saxo because Saxo was ill then?
Well, it was a bit like that. I mean, I at that point, I went on stage for the first time in front of 2,500 people at Guildford Civic Hall, a complete sellout gig, which ended up with like 50 skinheads on stage at the end of the gig and all the rest of it. And I had the time of my life, loved every minute, knew all I had to get right was the beginning of Tears of a Clown, because nobody would hear anything else. And it was just one of the greatest nights of my life. And I came off stage, well, you're going to have to, I can't be tour manager and do that. So I think some people said, well, that's a pity. But anyway, I ended up playing keyboards, and I did every single gig with the band from then onwards until the Beat finished. So.
And Everett, how did Saxa come into the band? Can you remember, did you introduce him?
No, yes, I went to, because the guys wanted me to go and see punk, the way the punk operate the music. So you can come and see the where I'm coming from. And Saxa was at this pub called the Crampton, and invite him to one of the show, and he loved it so much he said no one get him out of this band.
Yeah, but you didn't tell him that we invited him to one of our shows 3 days before we recorded Tears of a Clown, did you?
Well, no, I can't remember that. No. I'll see.
Very important. Saxa, right, is, when it comes to improvisation, I mean, I've never known anybody like him. It's almost like he just has to hear the tune once, that's it.
If he just plays anything over it.
And sometimes he doesn't even have to hear the tune. and there's chord changes going on, and it fits around them so superbly. You know, it's amazing, and you can't read a note of music, and everything's by feel, and everything is guesswork, and everything every time it comes out of him, it's just.
It's true.
You never know what's going to come out. It's going to be different every time.
He's been an inspiration to every one of us. He's all kinds of things to us.
And if he was here now, none of us would get a word in. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You know.
I read in the sleeve notes to the Hits album that he possibly played with the Beatles.
Oh yes, well he keeps saying it, but I wouldn't doubt it. I think he's right. He's right.
Yeah.
All these things he says, it's probably the band called the Beatles, but you reckon he played with the Beatles? I believe it.
I do know that in the 60s and the 70s, I know John Lennon used to go to a lot of blues dances in Liverpool, and I've met people who used to meet up with him there, and obviously. The man was underground. He was like a punk of his day, if you like. Right. And I'm sure Saxa, with the music, would have been travelling to all them kind of places. So he may well have
probably meet up with them.
Met up with them.
And say they meet up with them, and he probably went on stage because he used to just get on stage and play.
But the minute he heard your material, he was.
That was it. That was This
Everett,
is what he was
you
looking
must
for.
have had a few battles with the punks to get that kind of. How did you get the beat going? How did that happen?
No, I didn't have no battles with the punks. I mean, I just did it my way.
Right.
You see, at the same time, the punks were listening to a lot of reggae because, again, referring to Johnny Rotten again. Yeah. When the punk thing got in the news, and by the way, people always forget that the Sex Pistols were only together for 1 year anyway.
Right.
The two had a symbiotic relationship.
They did. Johnny Rotten said on Radio 4 in an interview that, that more punks should listen to reggae music because what the reggae artists are saying are more or less the same thing as what the punks are saying.
What the Dreads are saying.
Just different music. But it's the same message.
Yeah.
And that made a profound difference to the way punks, if there were any racist punks, they weren't racist anymore.
Right.
Well, it became the classic rock against racism gig, didn't it? Punk band and a reggae band.
Everett, the thing I was sort of meaning about the battles against the punks was that you came into this band as a reggae drummer. And with guitarists who were very much the punk. Tell us more about how you found that punk.
I did fit in. I mean,
there were nice punks.
It was, there was nice ones. I mean, it was hard at first, but I did fit in. I understand what you're saying. A reggae drummer coming into this punk thing. I didn't think it would work, but it did work.
And the number which it works, and you can actually hear it most, is Mirror in the Bathroom, where
Absolutely.
I heard a story there that when David Steele played you the bass line, he played it totally as a punk bass line, and you came up with punk. Reggae.
That's it. So, I mean, there's some songs I had to follow them because that followed them. They took me that way. Mm-hmm. They took me from the reggae to whatever it is now. It's just a faster reggae beat.
Right.
So
but it's still reggae because the other thing was
it's still reggae music.
The other bands on the two-tone label like Select Specials, they couldn't mix punk and reggae. They managed to mix punk and ska because that was the right tempo.
But
you managed to do punk and reggae.
Punk and reggae because I was a reggae drummer, but it's just a faster type of reggae music.
And that just happened.
It just happened. I know I cannot play slow reggae now. Because
it's true, because
it
hard
took
to
me.
slow it down,
It's very hard, It took me at such a pace that, I was there. I had to be there.
The energy of the band.
The energy of the band. I had to keep up with.
I mean, the first time we played Birmingham, that's like the first time after we'd been in the charts and had a couple of hits. We'd done a tour of England, played top rank in Birmingham, went on stage, did the set. The set was 20 minutes long, and we did every single number we had. A set that should have been 50 or 60 minutes long, because that's all the tunes we had at that point. I mean, that's how nervous we were to be playing in front of a home crowd, family, everything. We just went on. It was like, thank you.
It's just a speed. But suppose
Your
it's also
American
not used to
critics
slow
said
down.
that the first album was too fast to dance to.
Well, that's the thing. It
Well,
was just.
Too fast to
It
dance.
wasn't. No, it's a
I mean,
classic.
if you can't dance, you just drum to it. And
It's
that's
the
what a
right
lot of people-
tempo.
yeah.
Songs like Mirror in the Bathroom and Twist and Crawl are perfect dancing tempos.
Well, if you hear tapes of some of the American gigs, we actually played them faster than on the record,
Yeah.
and boy, did
Yeah.
they dance.
Yeah.
Sure they did, yeah.
Sure.
It's probably
But
Rolling
I think they
Stones.
had to dance in it. They had
I
to
think there
dance.
was one person who said something about she tried to use a CD or a record of the beat for her dance classes or,
Oh, I see, and
or
it's
exercise
just-
classes,
Oh,
and it was
right.
far too fast.
Yeah.
And so therefore, we totally changed our strategy, and on the next album, we went kind of half-paced, didn't we?
half-paced, yeah. I mean, we was learning from the fast thing, so we had to do another album, and so we just toned it down a bit, you see.
The lead up to the first album, how did you hook up on that support tour that you did with the Selector? How did that happen?
I think that they've heard about us, and they just invite us to work with them. I think we
had sent a tape off to Two Tone. Sent one off to Jerry, and they had heard it, and it was out of us and UB40 who they wanted to sign up next, but they weren't telling us that. And they told us if we go on this tour, come and do 6 dates with the Selector, I think it was.
Got it, yeah.
She's got it.
They asked us to come and do 6 dates with the Selector, and we did them, and it ended up at the Electric Ballroom, I think it was in London. And
Was it?
yeah, Electric
Is that
Ballroom.
Rock Against Racism?
No, it wasn't a Rock Against Racism thing. It was actually a proper Selector gig, and the Two-Tone thing was everybody wanted to be
It
in
was
there.
bubbling
It was
at the
absolute-
time, ain't it?
Yeah.
It was really hot.
And
yeah.
Jerry came up and offered us the deal on Two-Tone, and
Is that the
said,
first time you met him?
"No,
He's just
I'd met Jerry before because I'd seen the specials a couple of times. I mean, they played Birmingham and that. And
Right.
I'd kind of seen them. I wasn't really a fan of the specials. I didn't necessarily like them then,
Tell us why.
Well, it was a bit wild for me. I preferred UB40. I was more familiar with, and the beat were more. I thought was.
Well,
like,
it was from your town. That's
they
what
were
I mean.
I've seen them more, obviously.
And
I think that's why.
And these
It's
foreigners coming in.
nothing to do with their music, because by the time Elvis Costello finished with the specials on the first album, I had to hear that album 30 times. I just couldn't believe what he had done. So cheaply as well.
Right. And the specials were seen, of the two-tone bands, were seen as being more serious than yourselves, that you had an image that was slightly more sort of for the dance, the Beat Girl and
I think
the Beat logo.
The Beat Girl was to complement the Two-Tone Man.
It was lonely. We had to get a prize for him.
But then I think that the idea of the Beat was to be something like Two-Tone, but not a ska label. Because you see, Jerry Damners originally set out for Two-Tone to be a dance label, and it became a certain type of style. It became ska. Ska became a fashion and a movement. And then all of a sudden he tried to put the soul bands in there, and it wouldn't work because everybody wanted ska. What the Beat tried to do was, we ended up pulling out not only our stuff out on Golfy, but a couple of other artists too. Mm-hmm. We tried to continue that by making it versatile, so it wasn't one style.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't a ska band, we were a dance band.
Well, we just got put into it.
We got put into it because we had our first single on Two-Tone.
We're trying to get out of it now.
Even Tears of a Clown. Ranking Full Stop is a ska song. Mm-hmm. That's the double A side to Tears of a Clown. But Tears of a Clown is a punky reggae tune.
Right. Yeah.
Or poppy punky reggae. It's kind of.
Who chose that? Was choice of single, was it always a kind of band thing, or?
They wanted Mirror in the Bathroom.
Best, at the time.
The Two-Tone did. They wanted Mirror in the Bathroom, and we said no because we knew it was the third single. We always said it was the third single, and it was.
Plus,
so you always had a plan? Well. You always had a plan?
No, but there was always a plan that Mirror in the Bathroom, if it ever was a single, would be the third single. It sounds like you go out in the business, first of all, you might do a cover version, which is what we did. Then you give them something else that's kind of commercial and catchy.
Yeah.
right? So you go up in your credibility a bit more, and then all of a sudden you give them a bill of the left of centre, which is what we had within us as well. So you give them the other side, the dark side of the beat, if you like, and that was the proper beat sound, you know. As I keep referring to Twist and Crawl and Mirror in the Bathroom as, you know, the two, even Too Nice to Talk To had that dark side of the beat.
That wasn't ska, you know. So
No, not necessarily ska,
change,
but the sound, you know what I mean, the things, I mean, people remember us for Can't Get Used to Losing You and things like that. They were the commercial ones, but the sound of the beat, you know, Mirror in the Bathroom is.
Now the other thing there was that it was the first digitally recorded single.
That's
How
right.
did that come about?
Well, I think it came about because they just wanted us to sample out the machine first.
Well, we were working at the Roundhouse, and I think there was talk of going, we were already going like 48 track or something.
Yeah.
Because people only use 24 tracks, and then to go 48 tracks you had to rig two 24 track machines together and get them going. But then all of a sudden this studio, the Roundhouse, where we were recording, we started using these the 48 track system, and they got in a 32 track digital, which was the first of its kind. Cost them a fortune, kept on breaking down, put loads and loads of clicks all over the tracks. But I guess, again, we were the guinea pigs. We were at the forefront of technology. And I guess that is the place you should always be, but it's a dangerous place to be as well, because you can fall as well. Luckily, we survived.
Did you have your reservations during the sessions at all, or did you like the sound that was coming out?
I thought, personally, the sound from digital then took all the dirt away. Like if you had a dirty guitar that was really, it'd make it thin, take all the dirt from around it, it'd shave the sides and stuff. And I don't think the technology was right then. I think they've got all the sampling stuff and everything down to a T now. So, you know, you can keep, when you record something and you turn it into digital nowadays, it actually is what, you know, sometimes better than the real thing, you know. It's that perfect. But then, as I say, we were guinea pigs. It was new technology. It did work. The machines broke down so many times, and half the times I think we'd wasted a lot of money just hanging around waiting for the engineers to come in. But you know, it was great to experience that. Not the breaking down, but when it worked, it was brilliant. You know.
And that was like spring, April '80. Only 6 months beforehand, you were just really starting off, so things did happen very quickly.
Very fast.
I have heard you say something. You were an overnight success.
Absolutely.
How was this for you
I
to
can
deal
measure that within. I joined the band in the March of 1979.
79, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we made the single in December.
And it was out in January.
No. We made the single in November. They can I say, bum rushed it out.
It was out.
And it.
So you're at number 6.
It was number 5, number 6 for Christmas. Yeah.
And suddenly there was a big image thing about two-tone, tonic suits, etc. And suddenly
it just took off.
Yeah. Were you happy about this image?
Well, I wasn't a punk anymore, and I thought it would have been better for me to have stuck to my punk image now. I mean, this is years later. I think it would have been better because, you know, from time to time I have gone back to it. But I think the fact that we all looked smart on our first single and everybody was dressed up smart and the tonic suits and everything, I think that kind of set a precedent. It was a new thing and it was clean cut and it was almost like going back to the 60s again, you know, and there was that was what was happening, so you had to be part of that. We were part of that movement, so I played with that, you know, for a while.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about two-tone and the two-tone movement, it was seen as being, you know, Britain's Tamla Motown, you know, the actual name of the label told you what it was all about. And yet the main bands, yourself, Madness, Selector, only stayed at two-tone for one single.
Yeah,
before moving on. Why was that?
Because I think we just went on to the bigger thing then. It was just a small label.
Were you
It was
sorry
just
to
a
leave
small
the
label.
family?
No, it's not. That Two-Tone could have been a massive label. And it could have been a major record company now. I think if they'd brought in professional people to look after it. I mean, it was great that it was in the musicians' hands and the musicians made it successful. But you have to be on tour, you got to work, and you can't do the whole thing at the same time. So when you're supposed to be sorting out your record company, you know, you're on tour for 3 months, you're too tired, your mind can't think about that.
Right.
They should have brought people in to deal with that. And I don't think they let anyone near it because it was Jerry's baby. And so therefore, you know, I think that's what happened. And also the movement kind of went downhill a bit, you know, after 18 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And the New Romantics came in with their bleeding scarves and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And I was so glad that the Beat were not a ska band. And that we were.
But we still get put in there, then.
Well, they can pull us where they want,
yeah,
right? But if they really truly listen to the music, they'll hear that. Unless they don't know what ska is, if they listen to all the other bands and then listen to what's, they'll hear it.
But I mean,
it's a great launching pad. It can also be a millstone around your neck, but on balance, it's probably helped to give that band that initial boost. It means that some people are interested in us anyway. But it's always seemed to me really peculiar that the Beat are just in there as one of the ska bands, because you look through the set and what we do a lot of different things, a lot of different influences, but it's not ska.
No, it's definitely dance music.
It's definitely not
definitely.
ska.
Yeah.
And it's a cousin to ska.
It's very close. Very close. Maybe we're just being too perfectionist about it. But.
And the 2 guitars, that was another thing about your sound, the jangling guitars.
Absolutely.
And the fact that Dave Wakeling played upside down.
It's
that had an effect on the sound, obviously.
It had, one of the things that surprised me when they said, come and play keyboards with us, is that one of the things that, you know, the Beat didn't have a keyboard player, and all the other two-tony bands didn't they?
Yeah.
So, you know, that was an interesting step for them to take, which they did take, so.
Right.
But you're right. Those sounds of those 2 guitars. Somebody say that he loved Andy Cox because he brought the African guitar into ska and reggae and all that. Because he has, I mean, Andy's guitar playing is fabulous on a lot of those tracks. Yeah.
And when you were at Go Feet, Arista gave you total freedom.
Absolutely. I mean, of course they argued with us.
Yeah, I mean, well, David still did do a lot of work on that. He's got a lot of things, you know, bad things put out, and he had control of that.
David Steele, the bass player, was really good at sorting our contracts out. In fact, if he wasn't a bass player, I'm sure he probably would have been a lawyer. He got loads of clauses put in for us.
It now.
I mean, the Beat got out of a contract with Arista because we said if the headman left, the guy who was in charge, the managing director right now, if he left, then we go. We're free to go. And they had to accept it as part of the deal, plus give us our own label, plus give us a wad of money. Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously, I'm so glad we had that man on our side there, you know, because he really did push it. But I mean, getting back to we did have total artistic control. I mean, the record company, obviously they wanted hits, but when it came to the label, we could pull out whatever we wanted, really. You know, we pull out the Congos, which is the heart of the Congos, Cedric Myton, who became a really good friend of ours.
And the Elevators.
And the Mood Elevators.
Those are the only 2 really.
Yeah. And
see, that's another label didn't take off.
Well, no, it didn't take off, but it was there. It was like a playground for us.
Just like we'd
and I think if we had the right people looking into that and doing it on our behalf, that could have gone a lot further. You know, we could have had people out there actually looking for the talent, because we had, you know, we could pull out 6 albums a year or something, and we only pull out like 1 or 2, and that was, you know, we had the choice to do it. But we were on tour, we were busy, so you know that's what I mean. You need other people there to take.
Did you have an agenda to break the States?
There was one, absolutely.
I think we did. We did it.
We were playing to 20,000 people a night in America, selling out, and we still hadn't had a hit in America. So
this was before the second album.
This is for the 3rd album.
Oh, for the 3rd album.
Right now, what that usually adds up to, if you're playing that bigger venue and you still haven't got a hit on the radio, is that your record company's crap, right? No matter how good they appear to you or whatever, because you should be in the charts, you know, selling those kind of tickets. And the beat never got into the charts. I mean, we got into the charts, yes. I Confess was kind of, and Save It for Later and stuff. But we never got no top 10s, and we could have got top 10s and number 1s in America if we were with a bigger record company like, say, i.e. Warner Brothers.
Probably would have gotten
like
if we'd have carried on.
You know.
We probably never know.
No, I think the next album that we were going to do, the 4th album, which is not What Is Beat, because that's a compilation, but the 4th album we were going to do was going to be the one which was going to absolutely smash America to bits. And I totally, to my heart to this day, believe
he knows
that.
it, yeah?
I know, man.
Feel it.
I know. That album would have been the bullet for the beat. That would have been the
How
one
much
that
material was written for it?
Well, 3/4 of it. The music, I mean,
it went to another band, I reckon.
I've got, well, no, it didn't, because I've got tapes at home of some of them rehearsals we did, you know, for that last album.
Yeah.
And they've just been there, and one day I listened to
have
some wicked bass lines going on in them tunes.
You want to get them out?
Well, no, because maybe,
But
yeah.
no, I don't mind stealing a bit from it.
No, I wouldn't steal anything from it, but they're just great to listen to.
We can just go back a bit when Saxa decided, you know, that some of the live work was getting a bit too much for him. And
That was around the 3rd album.
And you brought Wesley in.
That's right.
How did that change the dynamics of the band?
Oh, it definitely did change it. Because obviously Saxa not being there, I mean, if Saxa was here, as I said earlier, we wouldn't get a word in, you know. But his atmosphere and his being is so superb. It's amazing.
I mean, look, Wesley had a hard road to travel to follow with Saxa to get it, because different type of players.
Yeah, different type of player and totally different type of personality. You know, Wesley was more quiet.
He was an animal.
Although he was noisy, he was a lot more quiet than Saxa. And a totally different style. And obviously he did a great job, I think, in having to do stuff what Saxa did. Having to keep up with someone of that kind of caliber, you know.
Right. Taking those 3 albums, you just mentioned about the 4th one that would have been. So you very much saw it as a progression heading upwards, and the 4th one was going to be the one that smashed America.
Definitely.
Right.
Well, it would have been, because everyone was waiting for it. That's what I mean. You know, we'd done that last tour of America, and that was a sellout tour.
Right.
And we did Irvine Meadows, we did all the big cattle sheds, all that, and we sold them all out. And people were like, how come you guys are not on the radio? How come you haven't had a hit yet? And it was chaos. It was, I've never, you know, it was absolute chaos. You couldn't go anywhere.
Special Beat Service charted, didn't it?
It did chart, yeah, but what I'm saying is it wasn't a hit because, you know, the Beat were looking for top 10 hits in America, because we knew that would have secured the position. And as I'm saying, the next album would have got us top 10 hits in America.
Right. You were happy with the IRS label out there? They were doing good things for you?
I think there was A&M, who were their company at the time, I think they were moving to try and sign us.
Right.
You know, and that's what happened to a lot of bands like REM, the Go-Go's, Fine Young Cannibals. You know, they were all on IRS, and as soon as they got signed to a mother label, all of a sudden they sold trillions of records. You know, and it would have been the same for us. We would have followed that, but we didn't. Obviously, me and Dave got greedy and went and formed General Public, because instead of splitting it between 6 people, we'd only have to split it between 2. But oh my God, were we wrong? You know, so
they got caught up.
We got caught
up. Found out.
The Fine Young Cannibals kind of showed us how it should have been done. Right. So that next Beat album is the Fine Young Cannibals. They got the trophy instead.
Right.
We should have sold 20 million album as a whole unit, and could have, but because mine and Dave Wakeling's greed, that's our punishment.
I respect
that, you know.
Honest about it.
I respect that, man. Yeah. And the thing about it is that I know we can come back and we can sell records again, and we can be bigger than we were before. You know.
Dave, when did you see the split coming in the band?
Ooh, no one. I don't.
It didn't.
I didn't have the remotest idea.
you
My
see?
mind was taken off
what
the
I mean.
ball on this last day because it was my grandmother's 100th birthday. So I started the day shaking hands with the Lord Mayor of Cannock and all that kind of thing. But I think it was. I think that when you're in the middle of a situation like that, in the middle of a band with all the plans and all you don't really know. You lose sight of what's going on and what people really think. And I just don't know whether we within the band had an awareness that there are an awful lot of people out there who love this band.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't think we knew until the band did come to an end. And I think that if we'd had that awareness, I really wonder whether it would have happened.
No, it wouldn't have.
Because I think we were all overwhelmed by what then happened, you know.
Arista dropped you. How did that feel? You know, a mega successful band.
No, I don't think Arista dropped us. I think we just split. Yeah. Decided not to be with them, but the band split up anyway. Yeah, so I mean, Arista pull out What Is Beat because you know there was no fourth Beat album because we'd split up.
I read somewhere that Arista were thinking you're concentrating too much in America and
no.
then
I mean Arista
they
wanted us worldwide, you know. I mean, they would have loved to have had us worldwide, but we realised that they weren't as hot in America as some certain other labels were. And also we noticed that if we had a record label in America and a different record label for Europe, then we could have them in competition with each other. And if one did well in America, we could say to them in England, why isn't that doing well then? It's a hit over here and vice versa. So, you know, whereas when you're under one company and if they fail worldwide, what can you say?
Right.
You know,
so there's one version of events that reads it that's because you were touring so much in the States, Arista got fed up.
Maybe they thought that, and maybe they were about to do that. But even if they were, it wouldn't have affected the Beat because America was the place.
Happy to see,
and, you know, I mean, just before the Beat split up, we came back. Can't Get Used to Losing You, boof, and that was a hit. So I mean, there was every chance we could have come back with more hits in England. So I can't see the reasoning for that.
Right.
You know, I can say, you know, more in the States, we could see every door opening. People like The Clash wanting us on all their tours, The Police, the Talking Heads wanting us to open up for them, The Pretenders, you know, you name it, all the bands who were like the cream of the crop for punk, which is what we came out of, you know. They all wanted us and they all looked up to us just like we looked up to them. And that's a sign. That's how you know things are going.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you know it's coming. Yeah. And I could see that a mile away. I could see it. You know.
Everett, are you in agreement about why the band split?
If I'm in agreement, there's nothing I could have done about it.
Because
I was shocked.
He wasn't aware. You see, what you have to understand is when the Beat split up, that me and Dave had been talking about it.
Yeah, there was planning
for
it.
a long time.
For 6 months,
on the
same bus.
At least.
Yeah, we were on the same bus.
And 3 times I says, no, we can't do this. Why do we want to do this? This is the best thing that's ever happened and this and that. And I guess at the end of the day, it was the calculation of figures that got to my head. You know, and of course,
heavy figures.
They were very heavy figures,
yeah.
and of course he was right.
Yeah.
And General Public did go on to get hits in America, but as I say, we were big, but nowhere as big as we could have been if we were as the Beat. You know,
I mean, it was a shock though.
It was a shock to everyone. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. After the David Bowie gigs were done, me and Dave wrote these letters. What he wrote out and I signed. I'm still taking half the blame for everything, by the way.
We was there.
And we posted them through the office, and you know, that's the first the band knew about we'd left the band. And I think that is so cruel and horrible. You know, obviously I was 19 then, and I didn't have the kind of head that I have now, or the kind of spirit that I have now. But it was definitely maybe one of the
so in other words, you had done some bad things in your young days.
It's one of the baddest things I've ever done, I think, to people.
So I forgive you.
Yeah, because there was a lot of trust in that, and there was a lot of hope too. Yeah, so it's the the most I've ever let a team down.
I mean, I didn't expect the split because I just done a great show at Milton Keynes, 2 great shows, and
the crowd
driving back home. We drove home the 2 nights, and everyone's so happy.
And 3/4 of the 4th album is written. and you're looking to sort of do mega in the States.
just-
Everything was
You
as up
just
as it
had your
could
most
be.
successful single in the UK.
Right.
You've just done your most successful tour of America so far.
And then came back and did 2 shows with David Bowie, which was just like another cream to say, look guys, it's all there for you. You know, they still love you. You
Where
know.
the audience is a sea of beat t-shirts.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Roger, have you talked to Dave about this since, recently? Is he of a similar sort of regretful?
I think Dave is of more regretment than myself. Personally, I think he is.
He was the
because you see,
he advised you in it.
yeah.
So,
I mean, because I've just persevered, through after the beat split up, after general public split up. I went off and worked with Big Audio Dynamite and did some stuff with Mick Jones, and then did some stuff with Pauline Black and Roddy Radiation, and so and even Neville Staples at one point. So I've been continually active with people who I've always kind of admired their little bits in their different bands. So, I think for him it's harder. He's got well, I don't know. I think he's got a harder weight to carry than me. Although, as I say, I take half the blame, but the thought wasn't mine. I just followed because I was scared and I was a bit young, so I was naive.
Changing the groove from regretting things in the past, just ending it on a happy plus note. What is your happiest memory with the beat?
Happiest memory? I think everything, because I didn't care about what was going on. I just went out and did my job. So I was just glad to be out there doing the thing that I know best.
And certain favourite songs?
But my favourite song was Jackpot. It's always my favourite. Because I can do anything I want with it, you see. Right. And no one will know. So I love that song.
Roger.
I think a highlight for me with the beat had to be opening up for The Clash 5 nights in a row. Although they were meant to have only done 2 shows, 2 nights, they sold out so quick they had to do 5 nights. And going on stage with The Clash every single night and toasting over Armageddon Time to a packed house, which was every night they just roar for it more after more. And that always made me feel like a fifth member of the Clash kind of thing, because I was treated like that by them, like a fifth member. And that's I've got to say that's my highlight, because the Clash definitely one of my favourite bands of all time.
Dave is tour manager, lighting person and keyboards guy. You've got a lot of choice there.
Well, there were all those fantastic moments from the past, but I'd say the highlights for me have been the gigs in the last 12 months. There was a certain madness in all the excitement. This last 12 months...
This 12 months or the year?
The 12 months we're just... What we're doing now.
Oh,
it's,
okay.
I think I'm so much more appreciative, and I'm just amazed by how excitable and excited the audiences are. So the gigs have been fantastic. We're not playing in stadiums in America. We're playing in all kinds of... The gigs have been amazing. Favourite record, Spar With Me. Because I'm so proud of my keyboard part of Spar With Me. So.
And looking to the future, you're heading for Australia? Is that on the cards?
We're meant to be heading over there in a couple of months. And we were looking at the routing, and the routing looks great.
Looks great,
doesn't it? Yeah.
Nice journeys.
It's going to be about 110 though, Everett. You're ready to play, man.
I've got my shorts.
It's in the low hundreds at the moment in every city we're going to.
and when might the 4th album be out then?
Well, now this is it, now.
The 4th real album.
This is amazing. Nice. I like it the way you lick
Will
things.
they class it as the 4th?
Well, certainly they'll have to eventually. Well, we're working on it at the moment. We've got 4 or 5 tracks down, and we've got Roger Lomas kind of in helping us to do the engineering and on the production side. But at the moment, as I say, we're recording. They're not mixed yet, but they sound brilliant, and we're working on new tunes all the time in rehearsal. So we should have a corker ready for people. And I've always said I'm hoping it'll be out by summer. I know we have a lot of work coming up as well. But I'm sure in between the work we can get studio stuff done too. I mean, we're going to be working hard. We are going to be working hard, but all these things are still possible, and I look forward to, what the outcome is.
Everett, Roger, Blockhead, thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.